Hello and welcome. Welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about my experiences with the vegan diet or plant-based diet and the carnivore and ketogenic style diet. I've tried both of these out and I've had both good and bad experiences with both of them. But I want to talk more in this video about not necessarily the little details of each diet, like, whether saturated fat is bad for you or whether it's not, or how many carbs should you eat in a day or whatever. This isn't that kind of video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the psychological aspect of these two diets and how I've come to the conclusion that I think they are like cults. I wouldn't classify these necessarily as full-fledged cults like we read about, that we hear about from time to time, dozens of people committing suicide because they think they're going to be together with God and they're the leader of the cult or something like that. These aren't these kinds of cults, but they're pretty close, actually. And I know this is going to upset and really piss a lot of people off, but this is what I think. And I'm going to tell you why I think this is so. But this is a pretty long video. So get your cup of coffee or tea, sit back, and watch. And see if you have any opinions on the matter, and you can leave them down below in the comments. Now, before I go on and talk about how I think the vegan and carnivore keto diets are cults, or like cults, I want to first just do a little advertisement here. I'm a piano teacher. My wife is a piano teacher. We always love teaching new students. We can always take on new students. If you're interested in piano lessons, any age, anywhere around the world, we teach remotely on Skype and Zoom. So if you'd like to sign up for piano lessons, just follow the links right below this video. Or if you'd like to learn from me as your piano professor on a subscription website, you can go over to thewellroundedpianist.com and sign up. And I have weekly uploads, and it's very affordable rates. It's a subscription website. Okay, so now I've done my advertising. Let's talk about why I think the vegan and carnivore diets, or lifestyles, I guess, are cults, or almost like cults. They're very cultish, at the very least. Let me tell you my story first, before I get into this this other material. Okay, I just turned 60 this year, and I've been interested in health and nutrition my whole life. When I was in high school in the 80s, actually 70s, make it the 70s. When I was in high school in the 70s, I graduated in 81. So when I was in high school, I was in a very small minority of young people, under the age of 18 who were really interested in nutrition. I, as a young person, I was just 16 years old, and I was subscribing already to a wellness newsletter at the age of 16 in the 70s. So it just kind of demonstrates how much of an interest I had in sports and nutrition. I was also a marathon runner. I ran my first marathon at the age of 19 with no coach. I did all my own training, and I achieved I achieved a time of 3 hours and 14 minutes. I was 19, my first marathon. I trained with weights pretty hard those years. I remember I was using Nautilus. I used Nautilus machines. I did Nautilus workouts about 3 times a week. I did maybe a long run 1 time a week, like 12 or 13 miles, like a half marathon one time a week. My daily miles were about 8 during those days, so I'd run 8 miles a day. I could easily run 8 miles in well under an hour. I could never do that right now at the age of 60. I'm not really that much of a distance runner anymore. But I was really interested, very interested in health and nutrition and sports. And this interest I've had all throughout my life. So when you see, when you see my piano videos, music videos, yeah, that's one side of me. My other side is a side you've never seen before, which is I'm pretty old. Okay, I'm 60. I've been around. I've lived around the world. I've lived in other countries. I've lived in 4 states. I've been around. I've seen a lot of things in my life. I've seen a lot of diets. I've seen a lot of trends. I've tried things out. I've tried pretty much everything. I've tried out pretty much every diet. I became as much carnivore as I could, which was about 90, maybe 90%. And this was about like last year. And when I became keto, when I began the ketogenic diet, I was very concerned about carbs. I wanted to cut out carbs. Carbs are bad, carbs are bad. I was brainwashed into thinking carbs make you fat, take out the carbs. So I did, and I did lose weight. I lost a lot of weight. I lost probably a good 20 pounds. I lost a good 30 pounds on my vegan plant-based diet 20 years ago. And then just recently, I lost a good 20 pounds, maybe even 30 pounds, depending on what my starting weight is. So I got down to a normal weight with keto and with carnivore. So then what's the problem? What's the problem? If everyone is only concerned about weight, which it seems to be the thing now, it's like the only thing people worry about is weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. Well, there has to be an end. It can't always be weight loss. Weight loss, okay? I don't want to lose any more weight. Do I look fat? No, I don't want to lose weight. I just want to gain muscle. So, but see, the thing about keto and carnivore is 99% of the time when people start keto carnivore, they're only concerned about their weight. I know that there are, maybe autoimmune issues and other things that people want to fix with keto carnivore, maybe some skin issues or something else. But by and large, it's in the 90%, I would say, that the reason people do keto carnivore is to lose weight. So then let's say you die and you're in front of the pearly gates and Jesus asks you, what did you do for your whole life that was worthwhile? And you said, oh, I just didn't eat any carbs and I lost weight all the time. Oh, and then Jesus asks you, well, what is it about losing weight that's special? And you say, well, I just want to lose weight all the time. That's all. I want to lose weight all the time. That's all I care about is losing weight. But, I know this is ridiculous, this scenario, but this is the impression I get when I see keto carnivore people raving about their diets. Yes, they lose weight. I lost a lot of weight. I lost good weight. I'm down to a normal weight now. But now what? Now what? Okay, the carnivore diet took some weight off. Does that mean that I should be a carnivore the rest of my life? I lost pretty much the same amount of weight going vegan plant-based as I did with carnivore. Both are highly effective diets for losing weight. But I'm talking about more of a psychological thing here. This is psychological pressure, and it's fear-mongering, and it's scare tactics. Fear-mongering and scare tactics. So let me just go into a little philosophy here. Okay, what is a cult? Okay, the term cult, I printed this out from the website masterclass.com. The term cult refers most often to a group of people with usually atypical beliefs living in relative isolation from the world. They tend to centralize around one charismatic person, the cult leader, who orders the beliefs, behaviors, and customs of all the other members. Many cults stand in as de facto new religions for their followers, but some are irreligious in nature. Now, did you see any parallels to the vegan, sort of take your really prominent vegan plant-based influencers and take your prominent keto, carnivore, meat-based influencers, okay, and two ends of the spectrum. Of course, there's nothing in between, but so it's either this or this. I'm being facetious. There are things in between, but and if you keep a tunnel vision, that's all you see. A tunnel vision is just this and that. What's better, vegan or carnivore? Well, why can't you talk about just like what's in between? Well, what's wrong with that? Why does it have to be so extreme? Well, anyway, let's talk about this. Isolation. I felt really isolated when I became vegan in the early 2000s. I couldn't eat anywhere. It was miserable. I couldn't eat anywhere. I couldn't eat at potlucks. I wouldn't go to some function and there would be food and I'd be sitting there with carrots, sticks, and celery, and everybody would have, you know, normal food. And I was just a weirdo, you know, eating my carrot sticks and celery. I was also, for a whole year, I was a raw food vegan. So I was a normal vegan for about a year, and I was raw food vegan for a whole calendar year. That's when I became 150 pounds, emaciated, and I looked like I should have been in a concentration camp. So isolation, I felt really isolated, really isolated. I couldn't eat anywhere, and it bothered me. So when I ended it, when I finally went to the store and bought some bacon and eggs and pigged out on bacon and eggs and quit the vegan diet because I was looking sickly and not feeling great either, then I felt less isolated because I could actually eat food now. So when I started eating normal food, I could actually be social with people, be in functions, eat with my family, eat normal food, and not be a weirdo. Okay, well, the same with keto carnivore. So it's no better, and no better with keto carnivore. I felt like, okay, I can only eat meat and eggs and butter. That's all I can eat, according to Dr. Ken Berry. Beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Yeah, well, that's great. That's good for, I can do that for like maybe one meal a day, like for lunch. I can do it for lunch or for dinner maybe, but like all day long, only that for 365 days a year? That's ridiculous. And I'm not talking about cholesterol or fat or the environment, or I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm talking about psychological conditioning and adhering to a cult. So we have isolation. I was really isolated, and I'm sure many of the people watching this video have the same or feel or felt the same way in either of these two dietary extremes, but maybe you just don't want to admit it to yourself. I was in denial for a long time, actually. I was in denial. When I finally came out of my denial mode, I realized that these are cults, these are ridiculous. I'm being isolated. I can't do anything now with fear-mongering. You know, I'm afraid to put anything into my mouth because it's toxic now, you know. So isolation, vegetables being toxic. You know, now all vegetables are toxic. So vegetables are toxic. Fruit has fructose, that'll kill you. Grains, you don't want to do grains. Oh, those are terrible. Those will kill you too. Everything will kill you now, according to the carnivores. And according to the vegans, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's the other way around. Okay? Eat a hamburger, and yeah, and it's like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes. Or that's ridiculous. Okay, eat some strips of bacon, and now it's a class 1 carcinogen. That's a bunch of bullshit. So we have isolation, we have one charismatic leader. Well, think about it. Think about all these charismatic, very highly influential leaders, and what we call them now are influencers. Look at all the influencers now, both in the vegan and the keto carnivore communities. Look at all of those. Tend to centralize on one charismatic person, the cult leader, who orders the beliefs, behaviors, and customs of all the other members. Now, I wouldn't go so far to say that they're ordering people, you know, like, Dr. Sean Baker is not ordering you to eat meat. Okay, but it's a subtle way of, of saying carbs are bad. Don't eat carbs, don't eat vegetables, don't eat fruit. So we have subgroups within each of these dietary extremes. So there's subgroups in the vegan, there are some more low fat, some higher fat, so whatever. And then there are subgroups within the keto carnivore communities. We have people like Dr. Sean Baker, who is just all meat, mostly, and eggs, and some seafood, and no vegetables really to speak of, or fruit or anything like that. And then there's Dr. Paul Saladino, who advocates lots of meat, but also fruit and honey, and that sort of thing. And then there's Bart Kay, Professor Bart Kay, who he's sort of he's the professor of the bunch, and he's the one that's supposed to know all the science. And so he's the one that, carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad. I probably watched Bart Kay's videos for a good 3 years and really liked them when I was watching them. And I thought I really trusted Professor Kay at what he was saying, and I believed him, and I was influenced by him. I was influenced by Bart Kay. I really loved his videos, and he's funny, he has a good sense of humor. And I even began to like his swearing in 4-letter words. It was funny. But now that my mind is open now. It's like he's just another kind of cult leader. He's just another cult leader within the whole family of cult leaders. Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Bart Kay, just the list goes on. And the more you revere or bow down to these experts, or I don't know, experts in quotation marks, I guess, then you're in danger for being controlled. You're in great danger for being controlled. They control everything. When I was watching Bart Kay's videos, I was actually brainwashed into thinking carbs are bad. Carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad. Do you know how many times I've heard that? Or that was just brainwashed into my head? That carbs are bad, carbs are bad. Well, they're not. Carbs are not bad. These extreme diets are the behaviors of cults. They are like cults. Characteristics of a cult. Extremist beliefs. Cult members hold to very dogmatic and extreme beliefs. Carbs are bad, just eat meat and eggs. They are also unable to question these belief systems without fear of reprisal or punishment from the leader or groups. Carbs are bad, saturated fat is good, low fat's bad. Then the vegans. Let's pick on the vegans now. According to some vegan doctors, they say that you shouldn't eat any fat. The lower the fat, the better. And we are starchivores. We were born to eat starch. That's all we should eat is starch. according to Dr. John McDougall, or whatever camp you tend to be, whichever camp you're on in the vegan plant-based community, whatever. There's subgroups within that, and each leader within the subgroup is somebody who is influencing you as a consumer. You're not listening to yourself, you're listening to them. So, authoritarian control, characteristics of a cult, authoritarian control. Cultism hinges on encouraging maximum dependency. People in the cult must feel incapable of living, so forth and so on. Oh, these beliefs go hand in hand with a worshipful attitude toward the group's authoritarian leader. Worshipful attitude. Well, I'm guilty of that myself. I almost worship Bart K. I hate to admit that. I'm embarrassed. But I sort of kind of worship Bart K. Not as a god or a deity, but because there is only one God and one deity, who is God above and our Lord Jesus Christ. A worshipful attitude toward the group's authoritarian leader. I worship Bart K. Oh, Anthony Chaffee, Dr. Chaffee, just the nicest guy you'll ever want to meet. It never gets mad, never raises his voice. This guy's like totally buff looking, you know, washboard abs, muscles, all the way to the moon. You know, everyone wants to, you know, eat meat all the time, you'll just look like him. Just like when I thought, oh, if I become a raw food vegan, I'll be like this friend of mine who did yoga and was a raw food vegan, and he looked really great and buff. Okay, so Dr. Anthony Chaffee, the nicest guy in the world, but another cult leader who influences people to go carnivore because he looks so great. And if he looks great and he does it, then you can too. Okay, it's that kind of attitude. Then, yeah, Dr. Baker, another one. You know, all the weight he lifts, and you know, the guy's a stud. I mean, he's strong. He's muscles. Yeah, nothing bad to say in that area. Yeah, everyone wants to be as strong as Dr. Baker. Just eat meat and eggs and you'll be strong like Dr. Baker. Not to mention the fact that all the hours and hours he spends lifting weights, but most people won't even realize that. You know, Dr. CULTS, CULTS, forget his first name. Well, you know, the white-haired guy in his 60s, that guy's like, this guy's like a psycho. I mean, watch his videos. Like you feel like the way he talks, it's like you go carnivore, you'll never have a disease again. You'll fix this, you'll fix that. You'll live forever. You'll live to be 150. You'll never have a disease. You'll never get sick. This is all you need is ribeye steaks. And you can be like me. You can be 65 years old and buff looking and cool and be like Dr. CULTS. Okay? This is the kind of stuff of cults. This is cult mentality. Okay? Get it across your head. And you know I'm getting worked up here, but I'm my own worst enemy. I was a victim of it myself. I fell for these cults. I fell for the vegan cult. I fell for the carnivore cult and the keto cult. But this is ridiculous. Veneration of a single individual. It's kind of like what I was saying. You know, not everybody, you know, reveres Dr. Baker and Dr. Chaffee like they're gods or something, but it's more, you know what I mean. Just admit it. Okay, I'm a victim of it myself. You're a victim of it too. So just admit it. Why do people join cults? Well, people join cult movements for various reasons, most of which revolve around the desire for meaning and community. So yeah, meaning and community. So when the internet was invented and YouTube came along, and shortly thereafter Instagram, shortly after TikTok, and all these social media platforms, Facebook, I guess too. All these social media platforms here are the desire for meaning and community. That's what it is. So it goes hand in hand. I mean, I'm not blaming you for falling for one of these cults, but I'm just saying it's really, really easy now to fall into one of these traps because we're constantly bombarded 24/7 by influencers everywhere. Influencers on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform will be invented next, it will be on there. And it's this idea that you want to belong to something larger. You want to be around people who do and think like things. That's understandable, but it can be done. These things can be done without such a cultish and dogmatic mentality. Now, types of cults. Types of cults. There's doomsday cults, like the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, or political cults. Political groups can both, same thing politically. The extreme left and extreme right political views or philosophies, those are bordering on the cultish, I guess, is what you could say. Religious cults. Spiritual beliefs serve as a bedrock for many cults. Yes, okay. Sex cults. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't know about sex cults. Diet cults. Actually, I added diet cults. So it only has 4 of them. It has doomsday cults, political cults, religious cults, sex cults, and now I'm adding diet cults because this is something new. I think diet cults really started around the time social media platforms became prominent, probably only about 10 years ago. And it's 2023 as I make this video. So we have plant-based vegan, carnivore, starchivore, fruitarian, whatever, just breatharian, fill in the blank. These are my words, not from them. If you define yourself and your identity, like your YouTube handle or something like that, you know, Carnivore MD, if you define yourself and your identity as belonging to a particular dietary pattern, you are emulating cult behavior. Those are my own words. And that's what I think. And so this is why I am never, ever again adhering to a vegan plant-based diet or a carnivore keto style diet. I think that one of the problems with these cults, and probably the biggest problem of all, is the idea of the idolization of food. The idolization of food. What is making an idol? Well, in the Bible, it says that making an idol is something, a physical object that you put all your trust in or revere so much that it becomes almost like a deity to you. It becomes your God. So you know, the keto carnivore's gods or God is like sort of like the no carb God or something. You know, like no carb. If you do no carb, if you keep your carbs down, then you'll get closer to that sort of divine nature or something. I don't know. It's like, but then the idolization, making things idols. Think about it. When I was a vegan plant-based like 20 years ago, or raw food vegan, my idol was like, you know, counting my vegetables and weighing out my vegetables and making sure I got so much of this vegetable and so much of this fruit and not eating this meat, or it's an idolization based on a way to sort of micromanage your life or something. That's like your idol. So either side, the vegan side or the carnivore side, it's really almost a sense of idol worship, because all the adherents have lost sense of reality. And I know this because I'm guilty of it myself. So let me just quote some scripture here. Of course, you probably didn't see this coming, but let me quote some scripture here. I have the MacArthur Study Bible here. This is an NIV Bible. I'm turning to Romans 14. Romans 14. As for the one who is weak in faith, welcome him, but not to quarrel over opinions. One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand. This is 14:1-7, Romans. Okay, so I'm not a theologian, but it says here in the notes, and I'm familiar with this passage anyway, that what the Apostle Paul is saying is that he was, at least to my understanding, he was explaining this to the early adherents to the Christian faith as opposed to the Jews or the Israelites. So the Jews then adhered to their dietary laws in the Old Testament, in the Torah. And the new Christian faith was one where that was old and the new has come. And so part of the new covenant during the time of Jesus was, one of the things that happened was that they opened up basically allowed more things to be consumed that the Jews couldn't consume before. And that this wasn't an issue because Jesus said that it's not what goes into you that's bad, what comes out is bad. And that has to do with your mouth, how you control your words and what you say to others, and how you think and what comes out of your brain, what you think about others. So in this passage here in Romans 14, I see, when I see this, when I was reading this, I was trying to find a passage appropriate for today. And when I saw this, I just saw, one person believes, it says, they're quarreling, passing judgment on others, passing judgment. Okay, well, and this was among the early Christians. So this had to apply to not just everyone in the world, but just that community of Christians. Well, let's take the community of carnivores. Okay, so take the carnivore community and make that analogous to the early Christian community. So we have the carnivores now. We have Paul Saladino preaching, eat lots of meat and eggs and whatever, but then eat honey and fruit also, okay, honey and fruit or whatever. And then you have Bart K, saying honey and fruit will kill you, don't do that. They're like enemies. So Bart K and Dr. Paul Saladino are both carnivores. They're both in the large carnivore community, however you want to define that. But they're like quarreling. Bart's always making videos trying to poke holes in Dr. Saladino's reasoning or others as well. And so you have the same group of people. That would be the same as two Christians arguing about whether you eat vegetables or not, or whether you eat meat or not. So the carnivores, that's like their religion. And then you have these two leaders, you have Bart Kay and you have Paul Saladino, and then you have them going at it. They should be on the same side. They should be agreeing. They should be banding together. The carnivores, if it's really, look at it logically. If keto and carnivore is so great, then all those people who follow that dietary pattern should be one group. They should not be quarreling. But they are. And this is just ridiculous. I mean, the more I look at it, the more this is like just cult activity. So then let me just wrap this up and summarize everything. So you have two extremes. You have one extreme here and one extreme here. Each of those extremes, or the leaders in each of those extremes, are extolling the virtues of whatever it may be. Okay? Lots of meat, no carbs, lots of vegetables and fruits, no meat, low fat. Okay? So you have those two opposing, conflicting views. And within that, within those two, like within the carnivore, you have people, you don't even have agreements there, and you don't even have agreements here. So if you don't even have this in agreement and this in agreement, then what's the point of even talking about the others? You need to solve your own problems first. Solve your own problems within your own religion. This is a religion here. This is a religion here. Solve your own problems within your religion, and then work on the larger whole. In other words, Paul Saladino and Bart Kay need to start getting along. Not the point I'm making here is not whether carbs are good or bad, or meat is good or bad, or whether we're destroying the environment, or whether we're doing this or that. No, it's all psychological. I know this video has just been a lot of me just sort of just rambling on and talking, but this is what I believe. I think they are like cults. I will never again follow any of them. I will never again be vegan. I will never again be carnivore. I like to eat from a variety of foods. And that's the way I'm going to do it. And nobody is going to influence me anymore. And I just wanted to make this video as a wake-up call for those who need it and for those who are considering trying either the vegan or the carnivore diet lifestyles. I would highly recommend staying away from those two extremes. Be a little more realistic about it. And realize that if you become a vegan or a carnivore, you are going to cut yourself off from friends and family. If you can get your whole family to be carnivore or vegan, fine, that's fine. I could never do that. I was never able to do that. I was the only one that did my crazy diets, which is one reason why I felt isolated. So if you're one of the few that can actually get your spouse and your kids and everyone in your house to eat like you do, then that's fine. The more power to you. That's great. But if you're like I was, and you felt isolated and lied to by influencers, and too influenced and the wrong directions like I was, then this is not going to be for you. So I hope that this video did something. I hope it makes you think a little about your choices. And anyway, sign up for piano until we meet again.